Hi, I'm Dr. George Yancey. Let's share some paradigms. Paradigm share today concerns race, protests, and power. More specifically, I want to talk about white progressives. This is part of my ongoing discussion on white progressives. It's an area of research that I've dived into. I would love to dive further into it, and hopefully one day I'll have enough resources that can really give this subject the treatment it deserves. Anyways, a little while ago, I did a video on Renee Good. I talked about what killed her, and I point out an aspect of what killed her. And if you want to go back and look at that, you can see. I want to build on that video because I talked about Renee Good as a white progressive. I think that's pretty clear. She was a white progressive. And I pointed out that as a white progressive, she likely looked at this political activism as more just political activism, but also as a sort of religion in that it helped provide purpose and meaning. Not that she worshipped political activism, but it provided purpose, meaning. I want to today discuss this in broad because I think this is a dynamic of white progressives. I want to point out something. Have you noticed that at these protests, that's more white than anything else? When I've watched these protests, I mostly see European Americans. Every now and then there's a few Hispanics. Now you would think that there'd be a lot of Hispanic people and maybe they're afraid, but not much. And I noted that the Black Lives Matter protests a few years ago, while there were some African Americans there, it seemed like a lot of times there's a lot of the whites there. And I want to make an observation. And I don't have any data on this, but when the protests became violent, I noted it is usually whites who are becoming violent, not African Americans. Now, why so much participation of whites? You can say, well, they care about the issue. Should not blacks care deeply about Black Lives Matter and Hispanics care deeply about immigration? I mean, in theory, there's material gain to be made if you're an African American and Black Lives Matter is successful. There's advantages to be lived out if ICE can be stopped if you're Hispanic. So why this participation? One can argue that white progressives have resources. That's likely the case. So if you want to fly to Minneapolis or to Seattle or wherever the protest is, you can. If you are a middle to lower class person of color, that option's not yours. You got family to take care of. You got to go to your job, go to your work. Some of my conservative friends have noted, why are these people at work that protest? I can't protest. I have a job. If I do have resources. But that's not enough, in my opinion, to explain what is going on. So, let me just argue that part of this is the adaptation of identity politics. If you've been on my playlist on identity politics, you know that I define identity politics, as done in the United States, as politics done for marginalized people. They become the center of the politics. How do we help marginalized people? In the minds of these white progressives, African Americans in 2020, undocumented Hispanics, and sometimes Asian Americans today, they're the marginalized. And politics revolves around the marginalized. So, to some degree, identity politics matters. Now, you still can ask, if you're a white progressive, you're not marginalized. Why are you investing so much into this politics? And some would just say compassion. And I think there's a certain value structure that they have that leads to them valuing this. But I think that's all of it. So, what else is there? Before I go into that, let me just say that if you're enjoying this discussion, please give me a like. If you want to participate, if you want to ask questions, engage the discussion, give a comment below. If you have a disagreement, give a comment. If you like these sort of discussions, consider subscribing to this channel that supports me, but also supports a space for someone like me who is a Christian who's neither tied to the left or the right, but tied to searching out truth beyond partisan politics. Okay, Commercial over, let's go on. All right, so identity politics is not all of it. You see, I think that the identity politics, the putting the marginalized, is a portion of what white progressives want. I think they also have a vision of society where, yes, we take care of the marginalized, but we take the marginalized through mechanisms that progressives see as operational. One of the most common mechanisms is some form of Marxism. It's not the only one, but it's a common one. That if we could get rid of capitalism, that if we could set up some sort of Marxian society, that everyone would be taken care of, marginalized as well. We get rid of the bourgeoisie. That's one of them. I don't want to say that all white progressives are Marxists, because that's not the case. But that's a vision, perhaps a more humanist vision that's out there. We change society to a utopia. From my understanding of white progressives, as I've studied them, there is this vision of utopia that they're going after. And there are barriers to this utopia. There are those who are blocking it. ICE represents those who are blocking it. The police in 2020 who are coming out and trying to squash the protests represents those barriers. Fighting for African Americans in 2020, for Hispanics today, it's all part of this effort to fight against the forces that in their minds are in the way of achieving this sort of utopic society. I have in a previous video talked about the difference between Christianity and humanism is the nature of humans, that those who are engaged in a humanistic philosophy believe humans are perfectible. Christians do not believe humans are perfectible. Believe humans are perfectible, then we have to create a society where we can have this sort of perfectibility. I think this is what white progressives are doing. The presence of protest is not an accident. It is an intention to say we're going to engage in this fight to take down the forces that are going to stop us from engaging in this utopia. So what it comes down to is, to the degree you do see diversity at these protests, if you see people of color with whites, their goal is generally the same. In Minneapolis and other places, get rid of ICE. That's their goal. The motivations is different. People of color motivations is probably some sort of material success. For white progressives, there's a larger goal of a utopic society that they want to achieve. And once again, it's a religion in that this produces meaning and purpose. Your purpose is to save society from, in Marxian terms, capitalism, other types of humanist philosophy, environmentalism, environmental degradation, whatever that becomes your purpose. It's how you get meaning. It's how you make sense of tragedy. Tragedy is when you don't get that utopic society. Okay, hope that you enjoyed this and hope this gives you new insight as we look at not just what's happening today, but what's likely to happen in the future. As white progressives, you'll find them very heavily represented at protests today and in the future. Thanks for coming by, and please come back. We can shatter some more paradigms.